thought I'd make a video telling you a little bit about me. I think anybody that puts out a channel expressing their singular views on world politics and religion and all those large, highly debatable topics should give a little bit of idea where the thoughts are coming from. It's unfortunate that to wake up and have your perspective honed to realities of the world requires you to experience a real tragic event or several. And in the last few years I've experienced big ones. I suddenly lost both my parents, and the costs involved with that just alarmed me. All the things that I had to do, like just when my mom was sick, things that the insurance company refused to cover, and it was Medicare, and just thing after thing. I had a little run-in with the IRS over a small issue, and the way they dealt with it, the hard line, just oppressive doctrine that they espouse when they're wanting somebody to comply with their request is, there's nothing constitutional about that. It just, you can watch, you know, ridiculous things about the president on CNN or something, but when you go face to face with an IRS agent, you learn the basic truth of the United States and your non-existent rights as a citizen. I was in a car accident soon after that, and it was bad, and the police treated me like, you know, I intended to get in the crash. And it was because someone stopped in the intersection and I spun out, another car hit me, and it was just ridiculous. And I was injured, and they impounded my car, and I couldn't get my car out. They wouldn't let me have my car. So they stole my car. And the big one was losing my house. To pay for my mom's private nurse, which I had to do because the recovery rehabilitation place that the best one on the list to pick from that the Medicare insurance policy would approve of was just full of illegals and a small nursing staff, and my mom just went catatonic and almost died. So I had to hire a private nurse, and that ate up all of my savings in 5 months. And she was so weakened by that bad care at the insurance mandated place, she couldn't stand or walk right, and she fell and broke her hip. And this was right after heart surgery. And yeah, it wasn't long after that she died. And all of the people that I had to deal with throughout those months made me realize all the plugins of the matrix of the United States, the truth of what, you know, being a citizen here really is. Long and short of it is, it changed me. It just absolutely changed me. I was a very optimistic person about politics. You know, I voted for Barack Obama. But these kinds of traumas make you want to know the truth behind that truth behind that truth, and you just keep investigating on your own as best as you can. And you just become alarmed with what you see, and then you become even more alarmed by what's obvious disinformation once you've looked into it enough. When you've learned this and learned that, you know this isn't true. But if you didn't see those two aspects, you might have believed that because it hits your heart where they're telling you what you want to hear, you know. So you might be in support of this mainstream person because they're more showcased. But if you're not involved in really horrible things and you learn about this and that, you're just going to go on believing that. Like, you know, I grew up Catholic. I'm not Catholic. I'm pretty against organized religion, but I grew up Catholic. My father was, but he wasn't hardline or anything, but we always went to Mass. And I know that my father probably gave the Catholic Church in his lifetime over $100,000. But when it came time to his funeral, there was nothing for free. And that just shocked me. I thought, wait a minute. He's been going to Mass since 1943. And he gets nothing back. I'll never step into a church again unless they drag me in. I remember when I was at my father's gravesite, and I'd already paid all these fees that, you know, for the ceremony at the funeral, and the priest actually had the nerve to come up to me and say, there's an outstanding bill for the cantor, $30. And he, just the way he looked at me when he said that, I was just in shock. I said, well, I'll take care of that in a couple of days. He said, well, and this is what killed it. Well, if you have it on you now, I can take it now and bring it to the cantor. So he was pushing for money, more money, at my father's gravesite. That's the Catholic Church. That's all it is. Getting people's money. I don't know what to think about the story of Jesus. If you step back from it, it looks like a narrative that you would see, a paradigm narrative that you would see as the tragic hero in any other fictional story, where the main character is just too good to be true, and when they really push their vindication on, you know, the powers that be, they get killed. But it's a pretty unique one. I mean, I'm not trying to sound disrespectful to Christians, but the story of Jesus really comes off like something you would see in a comic book, like Superman, or, you know. And whenever I've talked about Israel or Zionism, it's just like, I try to be respectful, but you can't ignore the fact that all these fictional things, the big ones, came out of Israel and Israeli culture, and it's singular. Yeah, all cultures have religions, but that Superman idea, the Messiah idea, and how you're forced into allegiance is just, you know, do this or else, is really the dominant reality. And these over thousands of years, bad things that happened to Christians, you know, and there were these devout people, and all religions that I know of, except maybe Buddhism, but even that, it's do this or else. You know, do this or you're a bad person, you know, and give us the money. And the basic thought is that if you're dealing with a supernatural power, what do they need your money for? I know that's a rip-off of George Carlin, but I'm sure he heard that from someone else too. But it is that's the basic thing with religion. Why can't you recognize that God doesn't need your money? And they say, well, the mission needs the money. Then you say, well, then pray to God and have it just appear. So, no. Not saying it, I'm right, but I believe that all of those stories are fiction. And they're persuasive enough, and they get to your soul because everybody wants a savior, and they want to have a great place to go when they die. But it's always the same narrative. I mean, I personally believe that there's so many things in the world that are described the wrong way. Like, I'm one of those people that believe the Great Pyramid is about 15,000 years old instead of 5. And I don't believe it was a tomb for Pharaoh. I think it was some kind of energy generator from the aquifer below it. The way it was designed, the casing stones holding in the there's the radioactive granite, and then there's the electromagnetic sandstone, and then there's the insulating casing stones. And the way it's designed, I think it was a, I'm just taking a guess, that it was something like Nikola Tesla put together, where you could transmit free energy through the air. And it was a big one. I believe all of those ancient sites around the world, that there is some kind of conspiracy or just stupidity about what they really are. And I think they're in ruins the way they are because they've been there a very long time in erosion. And like, I think when they started doing that, transmitting electricity around with the ley lines in the earth, I think that's what ended the Ice Age and flooded the place. That's what I personally think that. And that all the people put these flood stories in there that God flooded the world out of anger and corruption. Maybe God or gods or, you know, super beings or something did, and they were interpreted as gods. But yeah, I think when they turn on the Great Pyramid and it hits its ley line network with all the other ancient sites that line up on the ley lines around the world, you could conceive a gigantic electrical reality in the atmosphere that would have melted the ice and raised the sea level by hundreds and hundreds of feet. That's what I personally believe. And all those stories from India about the Vimanas, and I mean, I could go on and on about that. But, you know, that's just, you sound like a nut when you talk about those kinds of things, but why can't you be looked at as a nut if you talk about these other things that exist today? Why is the one religion any crazier than this one? And I just believe what's going on now, we're the remnants. I believe that Mars once was inhabited and it lost its magnetism. And just maybe, the beings came here, and they know how to travel interdimensionally, and they were here for a long time, and they just left, and they left their stuff, some of their stuff behind, like the Great Pyramid. Yeah, I mean, I just, that's what I think. I think that, you know, you can lift rocks by creating a sound essence around it through some kind of tapping of the energy of the earth. And I think that's how they built the pyramids, and that's all stuff that you just get laughed at, you know. But, so when it comes to me facing the world as it is now, my main problem is I have to look at so many things that I don't like at all. Stuff I would never believe, and I don't know who to talk to. And there's a certain comforting aspect of that, but it's lonely, and I made this channel just to reach out to other people that might be in the same frame of mind of doubt and discomfort and distrust. And just, you know, the government, I mean, I just don't get how it happened like this. I mean, why, when the taxing really got rolling in the 50s, I don't know why people didn't just say, no way, we're not doing that. Once the income tax got to 20%, when we already had to pay for so many things, to utilities, and how people just put up with it, you know, the sheeple reality is just so maddening. And all the more maddening, like with what I've been through with my losses and how my life changed and how my whole way of looking at things changed and how I don't know what to do, really. And I want to investigate it more and, you know, find the proof that all the trolls want. They say, well, you think this, then where's the proof? It's like, can't you see how criminals can cover their tracks and how hard it is to prove something when they've got a lot of money and a lot of options to cover it up? And how applying some common sense and deductive reasoning is not, if you don't do that, then you don't got to start with any kind of solution to a crime. And yeah, that's what a lot of us do when we make these videos. We're just throwing our ideas out there, hoping they catch on to somebody else. And if there's other like minds out there, then maybe, just maybe, we could come together in some kind of real force of nature and go after the minority of people that are controlling us. And that's what I would like to see, some semblance of. The only good thing about the Occupy movement was that it was the very first time the whole country of frustrated people got involved with something that was all named the same thing. But it also illustrated how distracted people are and how willing they are to fight amongst themselves and not do actualities. And, you know, we got to see what the police is willing to do to people that are just protesting. And, you know, when they talk about the 1%, that's a real truth. And how the politicians just laughed at it all. Just laughed at it all in the news crew. And so you look into things more and you find out who owns the media and controls all the banks, and it's all the same people. It's a small group of people. And nobody has the guts to say, we're going to go after them. You know, maybe not violently, but maybe round together a group that demands to be a recognized judicial body of citizens and have a trial. That's what I would love to see if each state had something like that, where like a nationwide jury where a state could have an elected representative of the people, whether there's, and there can't be any financing in it, it's just an actual, you know, if someone's interested in doing it, they'll put their monologue with their ideas out online, and, you know, neighborhood by neighborhood will elect them and have it be like that. So there would be a citizens judicial body. And yeah, I want a citizens militia, and just like we're supposed to be granted in the Constitution. And the Bill of Rights is just, it's just non-existent. It's just thrown out there to tease people into thinking they have something. That's all it is. But when it comes to the moment of enforcing anything the government wants to do, everything in the Constitution is rescinded or ignored. And if you notice, everything in the Declaration of Independence, if you actually did it, you'd get thrown in prison or Guantanamo Bay. And it's supposedly what the country's based on and proud of. Well, hopefully that satisfied anybody's wonder about what I'm about. I know I throw a lot of crazy things out there, and sometimes it's just half entertainment. But I do want to make serious videos, but I'm just frustrated by wondering what people should actually do to change things. It's one thing to be aware, but that just causes inner frustration. Remember in The Matrix where the guy says ignorance is bliss? You know, maybe that's really true. I was sure happier before. I'm grateful that I have all this, you know, awareness now about how things work and who's the bad guys and reasons for what happened to me. But it's frustrating when you know other people know all this and they're just kind of watching another Michael Moore film going, yeah. Because there's so many disinformation people like him that are just getting rich. And I want, you know, the truly sincere people like me to be able to get the word out and maybe get some financial recovery. You know, if we could get a group or something and donations would come to us and we're actually sincere people, not trying to trick people, maybe we could get something going. Why is it that all these fraudulent religions and disinformation groups can spread like viruses and make all kinds of money, but people that really care are stuck? I believe that we could change that. I'm hoping that I can do something to make that happen.